Looking for inspiring destinations, incredible places to stay, and the most exciting bucket list experiences to travel to next? Welcome to Destination Everywhere with hospitality and travel entrepreneurs Todd Bludworth and Andy McNeill. Having traveled to over 100 countries, Todd and Andy bring you unique perspectives with celebrities in the know, hospitality experts, and native connoisseurs to discover must-dos and inspirational destinations to plan your next trip for business or pleasure. So pack your bags and get ready as we bring you Destination Everywhere with Todd and Andy.
When you think of Copenhagen, Denmark, you're probably thinking of historic, colorful buildings lining the canals, or possibly the Little Mermaid statue that sits just in the water off the shore. You're probably not thinking about a foodie's paradise. If you're a fan of oysters or want to visit the world's best restaurant, or one of the city's 15 Michelin star eateries, this is the place to visit. Considered one of the happiest places on earth, Copenhagen values eco-friendly living. Today we sit down with Peter Pedersen, the managing director at Villa Copenhagen, to discuss how hotels can implement best sustainable practices. And what better way to see the city than from its harbor? We will also be speaking to Kasper Eich-Romme, co-founder of GoBoat, a solar-powered sustainable boat rental company. Architecture, music, good eating, and the simple uniqueness of Copenhagen are why it made our list of favorites. And after today's episode, we hope you will add it to your travel bucket list as well. Welcome to this episode of Destination Everywhere, Copenhagen.
Welcome everyone to Destination Everywhere. I'm Andy McNeill along with my partner Todd Bludworth, and we are so excited to bring to you today one of our favorite cities in Europe, Copenhagen, Denmark. One of the places we've been many times, and there's a reason we've been there so many times. It is such a great city, and it is a great city because it is compact and you can do a lot in a very short amount of time. And if you're looking online and you see the photos behind Todd, it's one of the most beautiful cities in Europe with all the colorful buildings and great food. Todd, what are your thoughts?
And what you see behind me is it's Nyhavn, and Nyhavn is a place. It's probably one of the most photographed places in Copenhagen. So I'm sure most of our listeners have seen it. But they also call it, the world's longest bar because, at the bottom along the waterway, it's all bars and restaurants. In fact, we did a group dinner at a restaurant right along it one time, and it was probably some of the best food I've ever had.
It was incredible.
It was absolutely amazing.
And the thing about Copenhagen is it is a great walking city because it is so compact. You can do so much in such a short amount of time. And you can also see it from the water, and it's a completely different experience. So I think it goes on the very top of people's bucket list that are backpacking across Europe. You have to stop in Copenhagen and experience it. And it's very easy to get in and out of. The airport is right there, so you can jump in and get straight into the city, and it really has a great feel.
And there's a couple other things I don't know if people know about Denmark's capital city. But it's one of the leaders in the world for sustainability. They have really pushed to create an environment that is sustainable, whether it's wind power, solar power, and this has to do with their vehicles and their boats. So you'll see it everywhere and you'll notice it everywhere.
Yeah, and you're also going to hear a lot about that from both of our guests today about sustainability in their businesses and how they use it. It really is part of the culture there, which is just fantastic.
And they're also the world's happiest people that live in Copenhagen. And that's according to the World Happiness Report. And they say, happiness is linked to many things, but they cite social equality, community spirit, education without tuition, public health. And apparently they're doing something right. So
that's great.
But we have a lot of great guests, and we're going to go into a little bit more about Copenhagen specific. But we're going to be back in just a minute with our first guest, who is Peter Pedersen. And Peter is the managing director of Villa Copenhagen.
Amazing new hotel. New hotel.
We're going to get his perspective on the hotel side and find out, kind of what his guests look for and what they can expect if they go to stay with his property. So stand by and we'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back to Destination Everywhere. I'm here with a very special guest from Copenhagen. We have Peter Pedersen, who is the managing director of the Villa Copenhagen. So, Peter, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Great to be here, and thank you for having me. And Villa Copenhagen, of course.
Well, we're going to talk about the philosophy of your property in a second, but tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you come from and how did you end up at the Villa Copenhagen?
I'm probably one of the old school, coming from the kitchen through the restaurant and made myself up, added some studies along the way, became hotel general manager the first time in 1999 in Stockholm, Sweden, with a company called Radisson. And ventured then out in the world, Hilton in Egypt, went to Asia with them, opened a hotel or a resort for banyan tree in China, went from there straight to Nigeria, Africa with Intercontinental, opened a nice Intercontinental in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, and spent 3 years being on my own as a self-employed consultant to the industry, until I was discovered, or somebody thought it was a good idea to bring me home for the opening of this one here in Copenhagen. And I never thought I would come back home again. Actually, I think my mom gave up hope also.
Right. We should mention that you are a Dane. So, your entire career was outside of Denmark and now you're home. Yeah. So that's kind of what he's referring to if you're listening. And it doesn't feel good to be home, I guess, close to your mom.
Denmark is a fantastic place, and
it is.
Absolutely. With the destination I just listed for you, the comparison is even more striking. Of course, I mean, I'm happy to say that I think Scandinavia is probably the most safe.
Yeah, especially the happiest.
One of the many great
places. This is the happiest place to live in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we're spinning a bit on this in the hotel concept, which I'll come back to. We've seen a lot on CNN and BBC about the happy Danes. Despite the tax burden and the heavy showers and all this, we're still okay.
Well, I got to say, and you being so close, just right over the bridge from, and Andy and I talked about this earlier in the show. You have Malmo on the other side of the bridge, which is, just kind of it's different, but the proximity to you guys is absolutely wonderful. It's cool to get kind of both feels, but Copenhagen is amazing. And for people who have never been, it's so historical and it's got the architecture is amazing. The people are amazing, the food, but, and we're going to ask you about some of your favorites in a second, but can you tell us a little bit? Okay, you guys, your hotel has a philosophy of sustainability. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we've converted an old central post admin or mail administration. We are sitting in a building I'm sitting in a building now that is inaugurated the first time in 1912, 22nd of September. So actually the building turned 108 years 2 days ago, and it's 390 rooms. 25,000 square meters. I know you do footage over there, so
yes.
Kind of divide that or multiply that by 9 or 10, and then you're there more or less. So it's actually a huge property, and we thought we wanted to have a boutique hotel kind of feel to it. So how do you do that, and how do you create that anticipation of something that is rather more intimate, a bit more casual, a bit still luxurious, but still just raising the expectations of something more individual, and we thought Villa was a great way to do that. People immediately will think about something that is smaller than 300.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I think of.
And we wanted to spin on that a little bit, and we were back and forth. And some people were saying that's because I just spent 3 years in Italy with Villa Borghese, Villa Pamphili, and all these things in Rome. And yeah, there was maybe something there, but I thought it was very important for us not to use the hotel word, because there are many hotels here. We have Radissons, we have local chains, we have Marriotts, we have had Hiltons. So you have the usual palette of international or regional operators, and we thought we wanted to try to set ourselves apart from all of that, and kind of redefine some of the principles of luxury hotel industry and so on. So to call such a big villa or big building villa, well, we thought was a pretty naughty start, actually.
Yeah, and you have a philosophy of conscious luxury.
We have, yeah. So conscious luxury is actually our way of in a Danish way, defining luxury. Maybe it's more, the expression less is more. Your plate might not be overloaded like some places around where you guys are living.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that we don't get enough to eat. We do. But it's about building a luxury hotel in a world where we don't really need more opulence. We don't need more,
exactly.
Like that. So why do you go? How do you go about that? I think the first or the biggest carbon footprint saving story we have is actually the conversion of the building itself.
Exactly. Not building from the ground up. Absolutely.
The footprint would have been, some engineer calculated it for me roughly, and he said more than 80% more of what you have done today, so more than almost double of what you've done today. And then, of course, trying to add all this technology inside, starting from, we have a lapping pool, a rooftop lapping pool, which we can heat up to 34 degrees Celsius, and up to 90% of the energy used for that heat procedure is coming from excess heat from our centralized cooling systems. And then, of course, I found out that sustainability is very much on everybody's mind here. It's something you have to have some sort of a strategy around, a strategy document around, to engage with the right level of customers and professional companies like medical and pharma industry here, other big operators.
Absolutely.
So that they check that you're doing things right and you check that they're doing things right. And then over and above that, it became very obvious to me that the young people that we want to employ, they want to be part of an employer who is doing things right, or at least showing some serious attempt to do so. So it was both a branding story to go out with, and it was an employer branding story, but it's also just the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Are you in one of your rooms right now? If people are watching the video,
I am. I'm in a corner suite right now. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what in the room kind of plays into that conscious luxury.
So, some of the outfittings, we've done a very classical interior design here that replicates a classical upscale Copenhagen urban apartment in a classical older buildings, centennial building. We put in oak herringbone floors because they'll literally last forever if we treat them right.
Oh, beautiful.
We've done, of course, some designs in the furniture that has a very Scandinavian feel to it, but we've not gone overboard. We don't have any extreme coloring that are out of fashion in 18 months.
That you have to redo over and over again.
Yeah, we built the hotel with 300 rooms, but only about 20 bathtubs. So we don't have the luxury of bathtub. We don't think that people really check into a hotel just to sit in the bathtub. So we rather have a nice shower.
And it's much easier to control the water, the water usage as well with that.
Absolutely. And then just down to some of the nitty gritty, we are not putting on top of the minibar 2 plastic bottles of mineral water saying this is complimentary of the hotel. We put a little brass tray with 2 glasses and a carafe, and we have a little note in the room saying it's actually okay to drink the water from the tap in Copenhagen. So go ahead and do that. If you want a fizzy water,
beautiful.
There will be a bottle one in the minibar, but that makes a lot of sense. And that's just, some of those things are just conscious luxury for us.
That's great.
So if you have the discerning guest, what do you guys do, or what have you done to kind of go over the top for just to make their experience amazing at the property? Do you have any examples of where you've got a picky guest and they've just asked you for something that you don't know if you could deliver on, but you do anyways?
Well, we try to be very personal in our approach. We have picked all our staff in a recruitment procedure where everyone have had 3 interviews, and the last one was with me. And pre-corona, we were at 180 employees, which is quite big for Copenhagen with such a heavy payroll burden as we have. So we probed all the staff on the conscious luxury part and asked into their own philosophy and what they do at home to be just a little more sustainable than maybe the average Dane. And above all, it was very important for me that everybody lived in and around Copenhagen. And if they were indeed commuting on the bridge from Sweden, which many of them are, I just wanted to make sure that they were in love with Copenhagen. Yep. Because when they're in love with Copenhagen, whether they're Danish or like me, or Swedish or German or British or Italian, And we have many nationalities working here. So we want to have that inbuilt concierge, Copenhagen concierge, where they can, the Little Mermaid you can find blindfolded, and maybe even Tivoli, which is quite right across the street from where I'm sitting now. But the little quirky shop down in Istegade, where two Swedish guys have made a little shop that are selling hats and boots, and they have a bourbon bar at the back, those are the things you want to know. You're not finding those. Or the little Mexican breakout chef from Noma, who have opened her own little tapas bar down at the bottom of Istegade also, where you have to pass all kind of homeless and all this to get there. So that whole mix and match of things is
experience.
Is what you get when you have staff who are living that in their daily life. They can point you in the right direction, and I think that can exceed expectations of a guest who is looking for something different.
Well, and that kind of brings me to my point about like your concierge, like those recommendations that you just mentioned, off the beaten path, those things that the locals really do enjoy. Is your concierge, could you kind of describe the concierge philosophy? And if someone comes and asks for something, are you going to send them this way, which tends to be the more popular, safe route? Or are you going to send them this way, which tends to be, walking in those neighborhoods and really checking out, like, the locals? Tell us a little bit about your concierge and then how they make recommendations in the area.
So happiness is one of our 3 values, and you asked a little bit about them. We've covered conscious luxury a little bit, which is the one in the middle. Yeah. Happiness is the last one, and happiness reflects us working here as Copenhageners, being a Dane Copenhagener or a Swede Copenhagener, never mind, because if you live in Copenhagen, you're a Copenhagener. And I want them to tell the guests the recommendations that they have, not the top 5 that we have listed, because we as a group think they are the most coolest thing to go to. They should tell the guests where they would go for that beer after work, or where they would buy that piece of furniture that is done with upcycled wood and whatnot, or find that designer or that little pop-up or startup ice cream shop where these boys, they found out that they can, out of the brown bananas, they can take the sugar out and they can make ice cream.
Oh, wow.
Things like, I want them to send them to places like that.
That's fantastic. And that's what really makes it special. And so we're going to talk a little bit about bucket list items like that in a second. But one thing I definitely want to hit on, Peter, is your executive chef. Speaking of your staff, Tore Gustafsson, is that how you say it? So tell us about him, about his philosophy, because it definitely feeds into the overall philosophy of the hotel. And then I also want to hear about your rooftop garden.
So Tore is a Swedish chef who has been around the bush for a while. He's worked in Stockholm. He's quite famous in Sweden and was in Denmark also. So he's been the head chef or the executive chef of a place called Pâté Pâté down in the meatpacking district, which is around 300-400 meters walk from here. His philosophy is very much about bringing, in Sweden you call it husmanskost, which is just, your daily plates, giving them a turn and twist, but more so making sure that you're following the local seasons. So you will not find a pineapple salad on our menu, because there won't be a pineapple anywhere near this hotel. And then, of course, he can venture out when it comes to flavors and spices, and he likes to say that his cuisine is Southern European with flavors from the northern part of Africa as well, and that's very much what he's tapping into, and what we're succeeding right now. Most dishes are sharing dishes. Much of it is based on vegetables. So you'll have 2 people will have maybe 5 small sharing dishes. You'll not have the big piece of meat. You can get it. He have a signature dish, which is a long roasted half head of a pig.
I'm coming. But of course, my favorite.
You can leave the dinner table there, and then you say, "Oh, that was great," and I'm full and I'm good. And then you say, "Oh, but we barely had any meat," and that's, and
you're still full, and that's okay, right? It goes to sustainability as well. Absolutely,
it does very much. And when we have meat and fish, we make sure that it's I'm not saying certified the right way, but at least we know the food chain from where it's coming and so on. So yeah.
Fantastic. And how about the rooftop garden? And I hear you actually have honeybees as well, which is incredible.
Put in on top of the big ballroom, which is 1,200 square meters. We put in a green roof. It's basically it's called a sedum roof, and it's all kind of little things that are growing and can survive. It's a green garden, and honeybees are finding their way there. We have for the next spring season, we'll have a collaboration with somebody who's doing rooftop being around Copenhagen, and we are going to tap into that. And by then, chef will have pots of rosemary and other stuff going on up there also. And right next to it, we have the lapping pool, the 25-meter lapping pool.
How
so it's
fantastic!
A little green oasis in the middle of the city, actually.
That sounds like definitely a thing to come and see. So anybody can go up there and enjoy the garden and lap. Well, that's fantastic. We'll have to get the picture of that on our website.
Well, and the 3 courts, you said happiness, conscious luxury, and what was the third?
Contrast. So contrast is very much making a brand new hotel in an old building. Wanted to be seen as having our roots in the local neighborhoods, being very Copenhagen, but with an outlook on the world and having international standards, our way, dare I say in brackets. And then it's very much about having different kind of interior designs. I'm sitting here in a classical Scandinavian looking, smelling, feeling kind of room. And then we're down in Brasserie Contrast, where you have brick walls laid all bare. And on the other side of the hotel, looking at the more classical part of the Copenhagen, we have, again, wood paneling, original wood paneling. We have a boardroom where we've barely done anything, but just restored it. So you have new and old. You have different kind of designs. We've, of course, been challenged by somebody who said, but where's the red line in all this? And that's where contrast is so neat to have, because we don't have red lines here. We don't do lines at all. We like the contrast. We like the number of experiences that you have going through the place, and the way we dress, and the team that we employ are from all walks of life. Are foreigners, are locals. I'm actually from the provinces, way far out of Copenhagen, some 100 kilometers. I'm not a Copenhagener to the core myself, but I am now because I live here. We just open to everybody and try to speak diversity and live by it also.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So Peter, if we like to talk about bucket list items and the hotel, that being one, just going and staying at the hotel. But if you talk to a guest and you're like, you have to do this while you're in the city, what would you recommend based on your personal experience? So what would you recommend?
I'm a kind of an outdoor person. I think you should explore some of the harbor front, which is right behind you, which has been in some areas cleaned up from an industrial harbor to now basically recreational places. And on the far end of the picture, which is behind you, is something called Refshaløen, and that used to be where we had the marine and everything. And it's a bit more rough on the edges. Street food markets are coming up there.
Nice.
Some old ship wharf buildings are being turned into entertainment places, either for late night salsa dancing or for wall climbing or rappelling and anything in between, basically.
There's also right behind me, like right where this picture is, there's also a great World War II museum there about.
There's a functioning part of our marine is still over there. The Queen's or the King's ship, royal ship is mostly docked over there also. You can go there with a harbor bus, or you can pass it in a canal boat, which is also on the picture behind you. And then there is, of course, Copenhagen, which is a huge plant where they're burning garbage and reusing the heat from that back into central heating. And on the top of that building, they've made a green skiing hill.
Really? Oh, fantastic! Yeah. What's a green skiing hill? They use rollerblades, kind of like roller skis?
No, you're using skis, but it's kind of on a slippery green mat that you're skiing down, and there is a little lift bringing you up. And
there's a bucket list item for you.
And skiing clubs in Denmark are queuing to train there, knowing that we will never get anybody even close to place number 200.
Well, thank you for all the great recommendations. So we do have our rapid fire questions, and you've lived in Africa, you've lived in Switzerland, you've been to the United States, so you're a world traveler. And so we like to tell our guests to convey to our listeners things about themselves that might help them be a better traveler. So our first question for you is, have you ever completed anything on your personal bucket list? And if so, what was it?
I don't really keep a list. My wife has a long one, and I'm tagging on to that. But having been working Asia, Middle East, Africa, Switzerland, Italy, my wife is Italian, so I get to travel quite a lot, not only with the job, but still as a multicultural family. It's just mix as much with the locals as you can.
Great. And I couldn't agree more. Yeah, really get in there and understand what makes the city the city.
Yeah, and what makes the people. I've been invited to Bedouins to break fast during Ramadan up on the north coast of Egypt, and we were sitting on the floor and eating the meal and talking to them because they were delivering stuff to the hotel I was working at. So we were invited there, and you read in any guidebook, don't drink the water they serve you, but of course you drink the water. You behave as a proper person. You drink the water and the tea that they, you play along. You don't come up with all your own little. You don't try to impose your world on them.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Right.
If you could live anywhere in the world for 1 year, where would it be?
Oh, I still love Italy a lot.
For sure. Any particular part of it, Italy?
I actually discovered Sardinia 2-3 years ago for the first time.
Beautiful.
And I've been working and living in many palm tree tropical destinations all over the world. And I was not aware that we had something so beautiful right in the center of Europe ourselves, So that was
fantastic.
A funny discovery, yeah.
If you could travel with someone either famous or infamous, alive or dead, who would it be?
When I was dealing with the Intercontinental in Davos during the World Economic Forum, I really hoped he would show up because I knew he would stay at my hotel.
Yeah, for sure. That would be one of mine too. All right, when packing for a trip, what is something you pack that may surprise our listeners?
I'm not sure I have any news or surprises there.
Fair enough.
I have no. You know what? Yeah. I tend to bring the coffee press, the French press.
There's a great one, yeah. French press, yeah. That's a great one.
And that's because, I dare not say that as a hotelier, but of course I've become a client of it a lot also, but, and I've been a host also because we have a house that we do rent out to Airbnb. And I think sometimes there are things that are missing. Wine glasses is another thing. I rarely bring them, but often you check in the place and they don't have a proper glass to drink a glass of wine. So
that's very important, right? Very important. And you've already given us some great examples of must-dos in Copenhagen, but do you have one more for us?
I'm sure you have to have Tivoli on your list if you're coming here the first time. I think it's the world's oldest amusement park. They turned 175 years last year. They've kept themselves relevant in the middle of the city. It's just a nice, feel-good, beautiful experience. But Copenhagen has a lot to offer. And again, jump on a bicycle and find your own way. You might find something I don't.
It's probably the most friendly bicycling city in the world. I think it's just incredible.
Yeah, and for me, it's definitely one of my favorite cities in Europe. I just find it's so comfortable for an American tourist who might be a little nervous. But you get embedded into, just all of European, Scandinavian, and specifically Danish culture. It's absolutely just a wonderful place.
And you cover it quite easily. It's not so big, you can easily get a grasp of it, I think.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So where can listeners go to find more about your hotel and social media or website? Where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job on Instagram, Villa CPH at Instagram, and of course villacopenhagen.com, our website. We are still trying to display the hotel a lot there, but we'll go into more neighborhood stories there as we go along. At the beginning, we are only 2.5 months old, so it's been important for us to tell a lot about the hotel there. But wonderful Copenhagen. It's a website also that is done by our tourism board, and they're doing a fantastic job in showing great things in Copenhagen, even some quirky ones as well. So, yeah.
We look forward to getting over there and checking it out. It sounds like a wonderful spot.
We'd like to thank you for our listeners. Peter has graciously given us a 2-night stay with breakfast at Villa Copenhagen. So please go to destination-everywhere.com to sign up and get a chance to stay at this fantastic eco-friendly property. And Peter, we can't thank you enough. We look forward to seeing you in Copenhagen next time we come over. And if you're in Florida, please stop by and say hi.
Thank you. You're welcome in Copenhagen, and thank you for all your interest in Copenhagen and Villa Copenhagen. Really much appreciated.
Great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Are you ready to book your hotel for your next company event or family adventure? Let AMI help. We have ongoing relationships with all major hotel chains and access to over 200,000 hotels. Why us? We receive special promotions before they hit the open market, meaning significant cost savings to you. Go to destination-everywhere.com and click the Source Now button and let us get to work for you.
Hi, everyone. And we are back, and we are about to talk about our top 10 bucket list items to do when you're in the beautiful city of Copenhagen. We've got a lot to cover, so we're going to get right started with what Todd mentioned earlier. He's going to tell you a little bit about that bar area.
Actually, and we're going to go back to Nyhavn. And Nyhavn is obviously the area with the beautiful buildings that are colored that we talked about just a second ago. And again, it's probably one of the most photographed areas. And, in the 1960s, this area was actually a red light district. So talk about a revitalization of a community. What used to be a red light district is now, has some of the best food you can get in the country. So, and then, some of these places are also open 24 hours. So if you're looking for a place to go eat and it's 2 a.m. and you're just finishing a night out, you could go down there and, definitely find something great for your appetite.
That's number one. Number two is something that I've never seen before. Really, really incredible. It is experience time on the water on your own parkapelico. Now, what is a parkapelico? It is a floating island, an artificial floating island that's a public park that actually can be moved around to create larger islands, and really, really unique. It's brand new. They have 2 more planned for next year and 9 total. It really is inspired as artwork to generate questions and curiosity from bystanders walking by, and then you can go on to these floating artificial islands. I have got to do that.
No, and if you just go Google Parkapeligo, like an archipelago, which is natural islands, but Parkapeligo Copenhagen, you'll see these pictures of these islands, and it will kind of blow your mind. That just the thought that somebody had in putting this together and then making them come to fruition, because they're really neat. Some of them are just all wood deck with a tree in the middle that float. Some that look like they have grass on them, and it's really just magnificent.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
We're going to go from the water back to, when we think of Denmark, there's a term everybody uses in the US. It's when we talk about pastries, it's the Danish pastry. And there's a reason, we don't say many other countries before they're made, but Danish pastries are just, exactly what we're talking about. And so you could actually learn the art of baking a Danish pastry and take a baking class somewhere. So there's places that teach the iconic treat, and they bake with a professional pastry chef, and you can actually, take home some of those skills, and it's great for food lovers. So you could go track that down several places in Denmark.
Yeah. And then afterwards, after you eat your pastry, you can head straight over to the Carlsberg Brewery. And if you never had Carlsberg beer, it's fantastic. It's a blonde beer that's really, really flavorful. But the brewery is over 250 years old and offers beer tasting. So what a great thing to do midday, late afternoon with your friends. But you can also use it as a unique venue for business meetings and conferences, which our company AMI has done in the past, and the attendees absolutely love the space. It's very, very, very cool. The concept behind Carlsberg by the founder was he wanted to make a very affordable beer for the general public. So his prices were always kept very, very low and made it very, very popular. And he named the brewery after his son, Carl, who is actually gifted the Little Mermaid statue that we talked about earlier to the city of Copenhagen. So what a great gift to the city, and another great bucket list item to do.
Yeah, and I actually have a lot of experience with Carlsberg. I used to, in another life, represent that beer in a certain market in the United States. So it was always a hit, but it definitely, it's a lot more expensive in the US than I'm sure it is in Copenhagen. This next experience is really, really kind of an amazing experience. And it's definitely something that incorporates, art and entertainment, social awareness, and then of course, food. I think if all of those things kind of represent Denmark, but there is a chef. It's Chef Rasmus Monk, and you can actually go onto his Instagram site and kind of see some of these creations. But if you go to at Restaurant Alchemist, you're going to see some really cool things. And what they do is it's complete performances, drama, architecture, visual technology. Diners are encouraged to come with an open mind and enjoy this holistic cuisine. It's not cheap. It's roughly about $550, but you do need to make reservations ahead of time. But
it's a 50-course menu.
50 courses.
If you put it in that context, I think it's actually pretty affordable.
Well, it's not only the menu, it's not only the food, but it's also the entertainment.
It's the experience, right? Yeah.
So what he does is he wants to encourage diners to think more about how food is processed and how it affects our physical bodies. So, for example, he will take meat and he will inject it at the table with antibodies. And if you're looking, it's finger quotes, antibodies, but the antibodies that they're injecting it with, it's really just like an applesauce. And this brings awareness to hormones that many people put into our food that we then casually digest. They will also take fish and they will garnish the fish with edible plastic to highlight the amount of waste and pollution in the ocean. So it is a really immersive dining experience.
Absolutely.
But I think it's one, not only, just to think about it, you're like,
Todd, where was that place where that
Noir
experience
it was Noir. It was in Montreal. It was,
what was it?
It was everything. They turned off all the lights.
They turned off all the lights and you had to eat in the dark. You didn't know what you're eating.
All the servers were blind. Yeah. You go in, I think, no, they tell you the map and then you're just hearing things from the servers. They're like, on your left, on your left, on your right. So you know where they're serving from, but you have to touch your food. You have to feel around. Yeah. And I think somebody at our table spilt their wine. It was, it was an amazing,
they spilt it on me.
It was an amazing dinner, a great experience. But
dinners and experiences like that are truly unique, and it's definitely one of those things that will make your trip memorable if you go. So this sounds like a great one.
Yeah, but that one was great just because it was. I actually kind of had like an awareness of what a blind person, just for the few minutes I ate, goes through all the time, every day, and it's extremely difficult. But no, it was great. But this particular dining experience about social awareness with the environment and pollution, and just what they put in the meat. Yeah, check it out.
All right. Our next one is if you are down on the water, but you're really, really cold, there's a new Nordic wellness place called Copenhagen. And their aim is to provide a wilderness experience in an urban setting. And so it's great for travelers who want to stay warm in the cooler months when they're visiting. And they have outdoor saunas with panoramic views. Get this, of the harbors. How much fun is that?
They're down on the water. They'll set, like you'll see right on the pier, there'll be like, 8, 9, 10 hot tubs, and each one is your private. I think you have to make a reservation maybe 24 hours in advance for that. But yeah, with the saunas and the hot tubs, no matter what time of year, you can be sitting outside enjoying
Copenhagen.
It. Copenhagen. There's another really, really cool venue. And it's an old, it's now a dried up underwater water reservoir. And now it's turned into an art exhibition. So it's cisterns, and it's an old underground water reservoir. Like we said, it once held 16 million liters of water. It's now dried up, obviously, and it serves as an art exhibition. And it also hosts various different events. So just another great, unique space that you could check out.
Yeah. And here's one that you can get kind of a 2-for-1 off your bucket list is you can grab a coffee to go at Copenhagen's smallest cafe, which is also touted as the world's smallest hotel because it has 1 bedroom. So you got to call ahead for that one. But it is located in the Vesterbro neighborhood, right on the border of Frederiksberg, on a great street with great streets and restaurants. But definitely a bucket list experience if you're looking to check off the smallest cafe and also the smallest hotel.
Well, now we're going to go from the smallest to the opulent. The next property that you should definitely check out, even if you go by for, one of the many events that they have, is the Nim Hotel in Tivoli Gardens. And this is a 5-star, beautiful Arabian style. I mean, it has these rounded peaks that look just like if you're watching, what's that movie that the kids like? I cannot believe it's just the Magic Carpet. No, the Magic Carpet, Aladdin. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that just got out of my head. But beautiful Arabian-inspired hotel in the middle of, obviously this gorgeous, gorgeous gardens that are world known. And they do really cool events. They do an Oktoberfest, they do dinner concerts, crawfish feasts, things like that. So if you have the time, go check it out, go grab a drink there, do something, and just kind of walk around the gardens, but it's gorgeous.
Great. And upcoming in 2022, the Tour de France will start in Copenhagen. So you can actually bike today because the roads are already mapped out. So that's a great experience if you can give yourself a trial test run of what's happening on the Tour de France when it goes through Copenhagen. So definitely think about that. It would be a lot of fun and a great way to see the city.
And did you hear like the six forgotten giants? They're large wooden sculptures that are hidden throughout the greater area, and they follow along the present 19-mile route of the Tour de France that is going to be taking place in Copenhagen. So really cool. And
finally, we hosted an event at the old stock exchange that dates back to 1625. So it's really, really, really classic and it's one of the oldest buildings in Copenhagen. And it's not open to the public, but serves as a venue. So if you're doing a private event, it is a great place to do in the city for dinners, conferences, and other events. And so that's the old stock exchange. So put that down on your list as well.
Of course, like big cities always have these markets, but there is a market in the meatpacking district. They have all these markets there. So you could just spend an all day walking around the old stalls, complete with, shops and restaurants and galleries and underground bars.
Oh, sounds fantastic.
Yeah, if you've got to check out the meatpacking district market. So, that said, there's still so much to do in Copenhagen.
Absolutely. Such a great city.
Well, and what's so great about it, you could just get a bike or walk because, as Andy mentioned earlier, it's in a small space. All this stuff is in a small space. And so you got to go check it out. All right. Well, stay tuned. And we're going to be right back with our next guest, Kasper Eich-Romme, who is the co-founder of GoBoat. And we're going to tell you all about that when we get back. So stay tuned and we'll talk to you back in a minute. Hi, welcome back to Destination Everywhere Copenhagen. Our next guest is the co-founder of GoBoat, which is a solar-powered sustainable boat rental company, and we're going to tell you exactly what that means. So welcome, Kasper Eich-Romme. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm brilliant. Thank you, and thanks for letting me in on your show.
Are you in Copenhagen or somewhere else in Denmark right now?
I am in Copenhagen right now.
Wonderful.
How's the weather there right now?
It's at the moment it's cloudy and cold.
So Copenhagen weather.
Yeah.
Copenhagen weather, but beautiful, of course.
Yes, of course, and it is one of the most beautiful cities in Europe for sure.
So Kasper, we're obviously when we pick a city, we look for something really cool and different, especially for a traveler that's not from Copenhagen. And GoBoat is actually something that is so impressive. Copenhagen has always been known as kind of a leader when it comes to sustainability and, protecting the environment. And then, GoBoat goes hand in hand with that philosophy. So can you tell us a little bit about these boats?
Yes. Let's start with the boats. Well, they are, as you mentioned, they are sustainable, and we started them renting them out here in Copenhagen in 2014. And from the very beginning, it's been a question of making boat rental platform that was, as you mentioned, sustainable, but more as a social project. And that's why we designed the boats with the table in the middle, so that people could come together, have a good time while sailing on solar and water and wind energy, and that's the basics of it. So the boat are partly built from plastic bottles and recycled PET as well.
Excellent. And so where were you when this idea popped into your head? Like, what was the impetus for this happening?
Actually, to be honest, I was sitting, I told she's my wife now, but at that time, my girlfriend, that I went to a summer house nearby Copenhagen to write my final, what do you call it, exam paper, whatever.
Yep.
But actually, I was going there with a friend to have some wine, and come up with good ideas on what to do in Copenhagen, actually. And then I've always been really fond of being on the water, and it popped up that it was really hard to get a boat, own a boat. It's expensive. It's hard to find mooring spots in Copenhagen and lots of other places as well. But here it was impossible to get on the water, and we have so much water in Copenhagen, and it was like the perfect idea. And actually, I called my wife the morning after and said, I have this fantastic idea.
Light bulb,
like,
light bulb.
Yeah. But she was like, you were supposed to write your exam.
And you came with a new job.
But she hung up actually. And but now she's happy, and she's actually working in GoBoat now. So she sees it as a good thing.
Well, I mean, and absolutely it is, especially in this, this day and age, sustainability is everywhere. But the boats, who designed the boat?
It's my partner in GoBoat. We are 3 partners, Carl and Anders. And Carl, I knew from high school. And actually, when the idea occurred, I called him straight away because he's an architect with a specialty in naval arts. Wow. So actually, he designed boats.
That worked out perfect.
So it made sense to contact him, and then we had a long session about a lot of talks about what should this boat be able to do, why do we want to start it, everything like that. Because when we approached people in the very beginning and told them, look, we're gonna start a boat rental, they were like, why?
Another boat rental?
Another boat rental. That is the most unsexy thing in the world to do. But actually, we had an idea, and the idea was basically that it's more a social experiment. It's about the aesthetics. That's where Carl comes into the picture, because he's been fond of boats all his life, and we wanted to create the perfect environment to sit together in a boat that is simple, easy to navigate, and beautiful. And that's the basics of what we went through.
So what would you call the style of the boat? Is there a certain a boat that you took it after, or is it something completely unique?
He is inspired, Carl, by different boats. I think it's some Italian and some Swedish boats that he's been inspired from. So it's boats are boats again. So it's hard to make a complete new looking boat.
And to describe it, Kasper, because most people are going to be listening to this on a podcast, but yes. It's a boat, and how many people can fit on it?
It fits 8 people, and there's a table in the middle of the boat.
Yeah.
And it's a very light boat, but still very stable. It's built for everyone to steer it, so it's very, very easy to navigate because it doesn't require a license to rent our boat.
So you don't need any experience to get on this boat?
No, that's one of our sort of what you could say missions. It's to make water accessible for everyone. Also, people have not tried it before, but to get people to try and just feel the freedom it gives you to be on the water and control your own boat, basically.
Yeah. So how fast can it go? What's the fastest you can get it up to?
In Copenhagen, we limited the engine, the electric engine, to go around 3.5 knots.
So nice cruising speed, nice and casual.
Yeah,
you can drink some wine and not spill it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so it's like walking speed in a way. So it's not about speed; it's about being together. It's about safety as well, because if you go fast and you're not experienced, then things could go wrong. So
good choice.
And I was going to say, like, looking at it, you don't have a typical captain's chair with a steering wheel. You are steering it with a hand rudder in the back, correct?
That is true. And actually, a lot of people, they want to have like the steering wheel to navigate with, but actually we like the steering rod because it's old school, and it's like it's very maritime, and it gives you a better feeling of the water, and it's easier to navigate actually.
So when you're renting the boats, how do they rent them, and for what time periods can they get them?
When people rent boats at GoBoat, it's on an hourly basis. I would say the average is around 2.5-3 hours that people rent the boats, but it could vary from a whole day to 1 hour.
So, and it's solar powered, but does the solar power charge a battery and then it's on a battery at that point? Or because how long do you have before it actually starts to fade?
I think that's also a really good thing to clarify, since people cannot see the place we're renting out from right now. But On the roof of our rental building, the roof is completely covered with the solar panels, and those solar panels are charging the boats when it's at the dock, and when they're not, we sell the energy back to the
Oh, that's great.
network. And the roof was enough to charge the 8 boats that we started out with. But now we have 44 boats at the dock in Copenhagen.
Wow.
So that's not enough. So then we made a partnership with E.ON, which is Europe's biggest private-owned electricity company, so that they provide the rest of the electricity from sustainable sources, which is in Copenhagen mostly wind power.
Fantastic.
So the route that you take on the boat, if I've never been to Copenhagen, I'm an international traveler, and I find you guys, and then what direction would you give me if I want to go? Are there places to go get food and drinks, along the route? Do you have courses planned out, different routes planned out for the guests?
We don't plan routes for the guests, but we give advice. I think it's very important that also when you come to Copenhagen, which I hope you will soon, that you feel the freedom. Of course, we will make some notes. You get a map, of course, because if not, you would get lost. So that wouldn't be good.
Right.
But we would, of course, give you some advices on your journey and tell you where you can stop for get something to drink, something to eat, or whatever. And then basically, but not too much, because you should be your own. You should
your
be
own guide.
and you should feel it. Because
right.
The whole concept is that you should leave your iPhone. You should leave. You should just be there and
disconnect.
Disconnect and connect with the people around you and connect with the city surrounding you.
And it is a very different city from the water. So I mean, it's just a completely different experience, right?
Definitely. What's also interesting is that most of our visitors is locals, doing it again and again, because you actually get to revisit your own city, because it is completely different from the water, and it is completely different depending on who you bring in the boat. So that's why we haven't been really hard hit by this coronavirus, because we're not dependent on tourists. We love tourists, and we would love to have them, and we love to have more of them. But since it is mainly locals using our boats, in this case, we are lucky, of course.
Well, and I also you have now so you started in Denmark, but now you've also got locations around the UK, Australia, and Sweden. So you're growing quite quickly, it seems.
Yeah, it's been a fun adventure, and And actually, the way we grow right now is by license takers. So we provide them with the whole setup. We've made our own IT fleet management system. Of course, we design and redevelop boats all the time, and of course the brand and everything. And then basically we get a lot of cities and people writing us every week that they want the concept. Not as much these days, but normally we get a lot of people want to have GoBoat to their city. And then we are still young, so we haven't been we could have opened, I would say, 100, 200 places. But again, it's important for us that we do it the right way and with the right people. So in this phase, we've been chasing the right persons to work with, and luckily we found them in the partners we have right now.
And tell us a little bit. You're also launching Scenics. Tell us a little bit about that.
Scenics is it's on its very early stage. We are doing the prototype right now, but basically it's something a bit different. It is still water based. So it is, in a few words, it is a modular based recreational floating system. What we've discovered throughout renting out boats the last 6 years and in different locations is that right now we have prime locations in some of the best cities in the world, and we can only operate the boat rental business for half a year, because then it gets cold, and then we have harbors not only in Copenhagen but also other places that are not that, to be honest, they are a bit dead in the winter period. So there's not that much happening, and water is good. People should use the water. So we've invented this system to sort of exploit the water also in the cold times. So it's basically floating modular systems built on catamaran. Yeah, it's boats, but they can be fitted as saunas, as meeting rooms, as hotels, as whatever.
No, are they? Do they move? Do they have an engine on them?
No, they can have an engine. They can sail because they are certified as boats, but they are made for being plugged in places where they can lie, and serve a purpose there. It could be a meeting room. Yeah.
Exciting.
That's great.
Exciting.
So now and good luck with that. I think that sounds novel. No, I know, serious. That sounds like such a great idea. People like to be near and on the water at all times, and just to give them a different type of experience, I think is wonderful. So now tell us a little bit, you're from Copenhagen, correct?
That is correct.
So in this episode, we're obviously talking about all things Copenhagen, and as a local, what can you tell people? What are some of your favorite things to do around the city? Like a restaurant or an activity when you're not working. But I'm sure you're probably working a lot these days. But what do you recommend?
I would say there's so many good things to recommend, and that's a good thing. So normally, actually, I don't recommend the same ever, because I think things changes rapidly, and that's only great. And I would say especially the whole food scene, and what's happening there in Copenhagen is it has been extremely, I would say, inspiring and fantastic. And also because you can eat all the time then and try stuff out. But to follow that the last couple of years has been extremely fantastic. If I should recommend something right now, I would recommend everyone to go to a restaurant called Bar. It's BRRR, so it's 2 R's. And it's actually it's Danish food that they take to a new level, like traditional Danish food. The last time I went there, I got something called Wiener Schnitzel. I don't know if you know it, but
yeah. I thought that was German.
I think it is German, but we take some now and then and say it ours. But when I got that, I'm not lying, I began to cry because it was so good.
So good. Food that makes you cry in Copenhagen.
And my wife, she still thinks it's odd when I start crying about food, but I can't help it. It's
good to have passion for food.
So definitely go there.
What's one activity other than obviously renting a GoBoat? What's something, not the norm, where would you say you've got to just go do this? It's so cool. And, obviously Copenhagen's the only place you can do this.
Yes, that's a good question. Again, 1,000 things pops up in my head. I would say, of course, it's something that you might be able to do somewhere else. But the good thing about Copenhagen is that it's a city that has a lot of diversity, a lot of different people, a lot of things you can do, but it's centered in a very small geographic area, so you can come around. So I would say rent a bike and just go around. Or actually, I did this I think last Sunday. My wife made a surprise for me, and she picked me up in a bike taxi. I hadn't done that for ages, and bought me some drinks, and we were just strolling around.
Oh, that sounds fun. You can just pick those up on any corner. Excellent.
And that was just a great experience. So just go around and stop at all the places you see and go in.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. What a great suggestion. Thank you. Well, Kasper, we wish you best of luck with GoBoats. It sounds like a fantastic experience for anybody that comes to Copenhagen, and we hope a lot of our listeners come and visit you when they're there.
And where can they find you on social media and keep up with you?
It's a hashtag GoBoatCPH.
And then I know you also have GoBoat.dk.
Yeah.
That'll take you to the website for bookings.
Exactly.
No, Kasper, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kasper.
And best of luck to you.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. And hope to see you in real life one day.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. It was just an absolute pleasure speaking to our guest today. And, Copenhagen really is one of my favorite cities, not only in Europe, but in the world for all the reasons we talked about today. So if it's not on your bucket list, I highly recommend it. It's not only great for to go with families and friends, but it's great for business trips, for conferences, and to hold a meeting. So those are all great reasons to go to explore the city. Todd, what was your favorite thing that we talked about today? Because there was so much to choose from.
Well, I mean, obviously all those things that we discussed are very cool, like that Parkapelago thing just kind of still blows me away. The way that people in Copenhagen really kind of mix, just the social awareness and the art and the food and the culture. I just think it's so neat. You could just walk around and it doesn't stop.
I'm glad you said that, because I think you heard through the entire show about their focus on sustainability. It's one of the first cities that's really focused on it, a major old city in Europe that has done that. And it really is part of the culture, not only from the food, but the entertainment to the lifestyle. Really has that focus on green living and long-term sustainability for the future of mankind. So it's another reasons why I really love Copenhagen.
Something else that it's proximity to other trips. It's just north of Germany. It's right over the bridge from Sweden. And then, so you could really go in almost any direction and just go into a different world and just extend your trip and go experience something different. One thing I'm really curious about doing is getting out of Copenhagen and seeing, the rest of what Denmark has to offer, which, I'm really excited about.
Oh, maybe there's another show for us.
I know. Yep, absolutely. So, that said, it's definitely a place I will go back to. And now, it's changed so much even since I've been there. So I'm really excited to get back and see the new things that it has to offer.
So special thanks to all of our guests today. We really appreciate Kasper from GoBoat, as well as Peter Pedersen from Villa Copenhagen.
And we also have a couple more people we'd like to thank. We'd like to thank all the people that helped make this show happen. We've got Chris Jordan, our copywriter, Guy Quattlebaum, who is our content developer, Annie Fernandez, creative director, and of course, the wonderful Lauren Campbell, our podcast producer. So be sure that you subscribe, rate, and review our show on your preferred podcast app or by going to www.destination-everywhere.com. So we look forward to speaking with you next time on the next episode of Destination Everywhere.
You've just tuned in to another episode of Destination Everywhere with travel and hospitality entrepreneurs Todd Bludworth and Andy McNeill. To access the show notes and other helpful resources, visit destination-everywhere.com. Join us again next week for another bucket list-filled show as we feature another travel-worthy destination. Until next time, travel well and be safe out there.